we'll just ask some general questions about cinematography and being a DP and the world of that and some memories and so forth. One question I wanted to start with is when you're talking to a family member or a friend or somebody that maybe is not in your guild, what's the biggest misconception they have about what you do? And whoever wants to talk.
I think they just think we operate the camera. You know, they see the same guy walking down the street with a camera doing a man on the street interview, and they think we do the same thing. And then the whole lighting aspect of it doesn't really come into play. And when you explain that part of it, it still just goes right over their heads.
Adrian?
This is a pretty specific example, but I would say that specifically stuff that's in the day, people are like, oh, so you just turn on the camera and that's it. And I remember I was speaking to a cinematographer who was talking about Braveheart. And this was obviously a long time ago. It was like 96 or something. It's like right when I started. And I was just a PA then. This person was like, oh, it's just the exteriors. I mean, anybody could do that. And I was like, I don't know anything, and I know that's not what it is. And I feel like when I talk to like my aunt, she'll be like, oh, so you just go out and you just shoot the Ren Fair for American Princess. I was like, no.
Like somebody does on vacation.
Yeah, pretty much. And I was just like, oh, no, but it's okay.
What's a misconception about what you do?
I think I have to agree with Maddie. It's like people think, oh yeah, so what kind of camera, how do you use it? I go, no, I'm kind of have operators. I work, I call it English style, like lighting. I do the lighting. Well, that's not that much, is it? I go, well, it could be. if it doesn't look good, yeah, So it's they think you do it all, but you don't do it all. So I think that's
what makes you want to take on a project? What's the deciding factor when somebody comes to pitch you something?
I mean, for me, last fall when I got this first script for the second and third scripts for Rami, and I saw the pilot, I saw like a family that I had never seen before. So it was something where I was like, this could be something where I get to be a part of the initial representation of a particular group and family that hasn't been seen. So like, not that I would say it's like I got to do like an All in the Family type thing, but the sense of responsibility was there for me when I read that material, and I was like, yeah, let's do this, and then I just pursued it as fervently as I could.
Gary?
Oh, it's funny you mentioned All in the Family because I just did this live.
Oh, you did that?
Episodes that were.
Everybody here saw that.
Well, I don't know, but they came to me and they said, "Well, what do you think?" And I go,
and James Burrows directed that, right?
Right. And they came to me and they said, "Well, what do you think?" I go, "About what?" And he goes, "We want to do it." I go, "Well, yeah, I remember those shows, but this is like crazy." He goes, "Who's going to watch this?" He goes, "Oh, you'll be surprised." And I said, "Okay, well, let's go." Because I thought it was a challenge.
Did you have to go back and watch episodes to kind of see how it was set up?
Well, they actually shot 2 episodes that were actually done. So I actually watched those episodes just to see, not so much for just the performances mostly. And so that's another story. But anyway, I figured that I don't say no to Jimmy, and I figured I wanted to do something different, and the live aspect was very interesting. So.
Matthew?
I'd like to say it's a screenplay, but it's not always the case. I think the filmmaker that you have a chance to work with has a lot to do with it. It's also, is there something that I haven't done that I need to try to do to continue? I mean, we're always learning. This is a never-ending craft. So being put in a situation where it's not 100% comfortable is actually a good thing. So, it could be a comedy, it could be a thriller, it could be, something, a drama. It just has to be something that maybe, can you add to this? Can you actually do something with it? Will you enjoy it? Will I enjoy it? And do I think that it's going to be something that people will enjoy, or it could be important? So all those factors go in, and then for me, where is it?
Think back through all the movies you've seen in your life. What's a favorite favorite shot? Something that just really stood out to you, maybe early in your life, or even more recently since you've been in the guild and been a DP for a while. What's a shot that really stood out for you, Gary? You think of one?
Well, one of my favorite films of all time is Sunset Boulevard. I kind of gravitated to that kind of a film noir look. And even though I don't do it, but I try. But I think just the look of that whole movie was just astounding to me.
Adrian?
There's two, so I'm gonna be greedy. There's when Kretschmar Schulhoff comes back to try to re-enter Britain in the Life and Death of Colonel Blimp, and there's that particular scene in this. And it was also the fact that it's the first time I noticed sound design with camera. That particular scene really, I watch it all the time actually. And then the other one is All That Heaven Allows, with this really this great camera move that kind of moves past Jane Wyman and traps her inside the television. And I always thought Cirque really used camera in really interesting ways. So,
Matthew?
There's in Manhattan. There's a shot that's in a corridor. Woody Allen's sitting in the kitchen. He's talking, and Diane Keaton's in the bedroom. She's on the bed, and they're just having a conversation, but they're in two different rooms. But, you're in New York, so you might as well be next to each other. But the camera just basically sits there on sticks and does that. There's Woody, and then there's Diane. There's Woody, there's Diane. And it's like, to me, the simplicity of that is something I always yearn for in the most complicated of moments. So I always think about that shot. And then the other one I just keep in my head, I don't know why, it's not that great a shot, but I think of, it's Marcello in The Conformist. He's walking down the street, and it's a profile, and the camera's tracking from left to right. And then the shot opens up, he turns the corner, and then you see where he's going, and it's this giant building. I don't know what it is. I think it's the music cue that does me in, but I think about the shot all the time.
You mentioned several black and white movies were mentioned here. Was that something any of you would like to do as a black and white?
Yes.
They don't come up very often.
No. No, something I would love to do. I had a little opportunity with a show we did last year, actually, and I wanted to do most of it in black and white, but they didn't. They wanted most to do it in sepia, but we kind of met in the middle and did a muted, period piece look. But part of it is in black and white. But I would love to do one in black and white. Absolutely.
Both of you like to do something black and white?
Yeah, of course.
Is it a whole other kind of, and I know it's a different kind of movie, but is it a whole other kind of challenge to your mindset, to your brain?
Definitely. We're used to using color for contrast. You have to use more light for contrast.
And in the tonality, I mean, you have to choose the kind of black and white you're talking about. Is it Elliot Erwitt, or is it what's his name, the Japanese photographer, the high contrast? I'm forgetting his name, but there's a whole world of black and white that you could explore too.
Well, as we wrap up, one last question. You all been doing this a while now. What's something you wish you knew when you started that you now know? Something maybe you just learned through trial and error or process or your history of work that you wish somebody had told you or you wish you had known as you got started?
That's a good question. Yeah.
I've totally stumped them.
I mean, for me, I would if I knew what I know now, I would tell my younger self to kind of slow down a little bit more. I was always kind of rushing and moving through projects as quickly as I could and trying to get the next thing, and then it was always something where I would never take enough time just to be able to reflect a little bit, even on set. And oftentimes when you're doing indies, like I did for so many years, it was just something where you wouldn't have time to be able to do that because you're doing so much of everything. And I think I would allow myself a little bit more time, even just from problem solving from shot to shot or scene to scene, just being able to take a breath or a moment and just try and engage the element of thinking a little bit more when I was younger.
What about you, Gary?
I think you know, I started sort of from the bottom, loading film, and I worked with a lot of cinematographers, and a lot of mentors came my way, and I was lucky. And I always wanted to emulate maybe one or two, and you would try, and then not so much in what they were doing, but something in their demeanor, how they treated everybody, but ultimately you have to be yourself. And so instead of overthinking things or trying too hard to do things, now it's more, this is me, this is what I do. You know, this is how I, you know, conduct myself, and it's more natural for me. But it took me a couple of years to figure that one out. I think that's more of a natural progression for anything, but it's something you can't be taught. You have to just learn.
That could apply to any career.
Well, I would assume so. Yes.
Yeah. Matthew?
I mean, just to echo what Adrian was saying, I think I wish I was calmer, you know, back then. I think I look back on it, but I don't think it's even possible, really, if I was able to tell my younger self to be calmer. My younger self's still trying to get the next gig, and my younger self's still trying to make the day. So I guess the experience that you have and the shortcuts that you learn and the things that you can learn how to trust, you know, when you're first, because I grew up in film. I shot film, so there's a lot of anxiety every day on film. So it's just like, you know, 2.8, no 2.5, 2.8, no 2.5, 2.8. Driving the focus puller crazy, changing the stop because you can't decide what you're gonna do because it's like, do I have enough in the shadows? It's like, give me another light, and you know. Now, I mean, even before digital, it's like the more dailies you get back, the more images that you understand and you've actually been a part of, you don't have that anxiety as much anymore. So I wish I didn't have that anxiety.
Well, if you're an Emmy voter and you're watching this, we encourage you to vote for Native Son, and we encourage you to vote for Glow and for Will and Grace. Gentlemen, thank you so much. This has been fascinating.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.